Indiana absolutely buries Bethune-Cookman because of team basketball.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Hoosiers. I am Brian Smith, in for Jacob Goins. Thank you very much for making Locked On Hoosiers a part of your day, each and every day, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one network in the land. We're going to be talking about likes and dislikes, what were the best and the worst things from today's victory as the Hoosiers hit triple digits against Bethune-Cookman. We're going to be talking about Indiana's shooting. Hey, man, there's nothing like putting the ball in the bucket. Indiana did it early, throughout, late. Indiana shot the ball the way they should. And most importantly, they just dominated because they came out and played team basketball. If you take nothing else from this podcast today, Indiana's ability to play team hoops is why they won. They didn't play around with anything in terms of being selfish, not passing the ball, not cutting hard to the bucket, not screening right. They switched on defense. They buried Bethune-Cookman because they played team basketball. It's something that Bob Knight would smile at. It's something that Branch McCracken would smile at. It's the same things that any good basketball player, fan, coach should really enjoy. And I know as an Indiana grad, as an Indiana fan, I enjoyed today's game. So let's dig into a few stats. Final score, 100-56. Hoosiers get the W. But number one, again, they shot the ball, to say the least, very, very well. Overall for the game, trying to pick one guy that I'm most excited about, it's kind of hard because I expect DeVries to shoot better. He didn't play great in the prior game. I knew he was going to come out firing, and he knocked in 20 points today. Okay, that's good news. But it may be more important that Wilkerson shot the ball well, and he dribbled well, and he took the ball to the hoop well. He still played defense. Getting him back on track may be more important. I think DeVries, he finds ways to make Indiana better, even when, this is very important, he's not shooting well. He impacted the game last time when they played well enough to win, but he wasn't shooting as well. He has a different feel for the game than most guys. Being a coach's son's probably part of that. But Wilkerson, I think he really needs to score. If you want his best defensive effort, setting ball screens, cutting to the hoop, when he shoots it and knocks him down, especially early, in his mind, he is a better player. So that's important. Enright didn't really shoot the ball much. He only took one shot. He hit it. It was a triple, so that's good. I'd still like to see him shoot more. The other good thing about this, off the bench, Indiana did pretty well. This, a little bit of surprising to me. I'm not sure why this is. 45 bench points out of 100. I'll take that. Indiana's got some shooters that we just talked about, but if their role players come in, hit their free throws, their backdoor cuts, end up with made successful shots like Indiana, this is a stat. It still should be better. For his last game or game before, Indiana was right around 50% on layups. Look, there's no nice way to say it. That can never happen at the Division I level, even if you're a lower tiered conference team, not a Big Ten member. Indiana was 15-22. They hit 6 dunks. They started fast. I mean, after the three-pointer made by Bethune-Cookman, Indiana comes right down. DeVries hits a three and is fouled. I don't know if that's ever happened at the beginning of a game before that I've seen, at least. So Indiana gets going, and they just capitalize. And as soon as they started rotating players in, you really didn't notice it. Again, team basketball. Team means the starters. Team means the guys that come off the bench. Team means passing. Team means defense. Team means rebounding. They did a really good job. So, by the way, rebounding, everybody knows, and I've harped on it quite a bit, it's going to be one of the biggest problems for Indiana this year. That's not a surprise. It's no new gesture or anything for me. They did a little better in the guards. I don't know if Indiana adjusted this from a practice standpoint, but the guards were a little deeper when some of those shots were hoisted by Bethune, who, by the way, they don't shoot the ball that well. I didn't like a lot of their shooters and a lot of their stats kind of reflect that. But overall, I mean, they were okay in some regards, but overall, they were pretty bad. Starters for them, they only scored a decent amount. They had 2 guys in double digits, 1-15 and 1-10, but 18-58 from the field is not going to get it done. Indiana's a decent defensive team. They play hard. But if you shoot 31%, you're not very good. Looking at some of the different metrics kind of going around, looking at the stats for the Hoosiers, let's go over a couple again. Most importantly, though, again, 45 points off the bench. Second chance points, Indiana only had 9. If I'm going to gripe, I'll talk about that a little bit. That's something to put in your cap. Indiana still has to get more of those. They should still probably do better than basically 2 out of 3 on layups. They were 15 and 22. Points per possession, though, like again, when you're shooting the ball well from the outside the arc, it goes good. This is insane. 1.429. That is off the charts. Elite. Turnover percentage was 10. Not great, but it is what it is. They had 43 scores. I mean, they were ahead in this game for 39 minutes and 14 seconds. That's, you should dominate, and they did. And then going across, looking at some of the other analytics, Indiana overall, plus minus ratio, they have 6 different players in the plus minus that were 10 or more. Usually you'll have a couple. And I know, again, it's Bethune-Cookman. I get it. But this is back to the same original point. Team basketball. Several different guys. Here are the players that were plus, for what it's worth, game score points. Wilkerson, 13.5. Connerway, 12.4. DeVries, 17.9. That's really good. 13.6 for Sam Alexis. 10.8 for Nick Dorn. Dorn's playing a little better. You can tell he's getting healthier. That's a really good athlete. He shot the ball pretty decent today. That's a good sign. 10.8 for him. Sicily, 11.3. I think he's one of the keys, if not the biggest key, as they get into Big Ten play, because they need another scorer that's got size. Trent can be a double-digit scorer in the Big Ten, even as a freshman. And I know Indiana's not going to win the Big Ten or whatever this year, but he's a guy that's a problem. He gets dunks. He's always around the rim, and he's a pretty darn good shooter. He's a better three-point shooter than I thought. That's a guy that's pretty impressive. Also, just kind of looking at it, Reed Bailey, 8.9. He was just below. If you're 10 or more, again, it's a pretty darn good night. He's 8.9, and he was number 6, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, number 7 on the list. So Indiana's balance today was really, really impressive. I think the Hoosiers have at least kind of gotten past their bad shooting stretch. Their defense is better. They've adjusted how they rebound. They probably won't transition quite as much. They're going to have to sink back those guards some, and I think they did that a little bit today. But they would still leak out somebody once in a while, and they look for each other. They passed well. Those are some really important aspects of team ball. Let's see, JA. Let's see, what do you got here, brother? Low turnovers, good defense, team offense. Like you said, what coach and fans would not like it. Yeah, I mean, this is how you play basketball. When I was growing up in Henry County in Indiana, like any camp I went to, any game I was a part of, playground, pickup, driveway, the team that rebounded and passed the ball the best generally won. It's pretty simple. Just unbelievable one-on-one shooting. It's exciting, but if you watch Bethune-Cookman, that's what they did, and they got their butts kicked. They lost by over 40. And I know they're not as talented, but the style of play they had, I know Reggie Theus, I remember him when he played in the NBA. He was a good player. I was surprised they weren't better with backdoor cuts and running stuff. They had too much one-on-one and dribbling. I was a little disappointed with that. It probably isn't going to help Indiana from a defensive perspective moving in to some more difficult games like when they play Louisville, Kentucky, etc. But I digress. You have to play the team in front of you and do your best. And Indiana did it. So when we come back, I want to talk about what is next. How does Indiana get better based on this game? Is it possible? Because again, inferior opponent. We're going to talk about that next here on Locked on Hoosiers. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Let me add, if you're going to go down that route with the NBA, individual games are great. Players are getting player props, quarters, all that stuff. Don't forget about the team, something I was just talking about here on Locked on Hoosiers. Indiana Pacers probably aren't the greatest pick this year. It's unfortunate how much they've fallen off since last year when they went to the finals against OKC. But look at it from a conference finals. Who makes the NBA finals? Well, of course, you can always vote on MVP and stuff like that and have fun with your friends. But how about placing a bet on that too? Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets. When your first $5 bet wins, head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is a lot of fun right now because we got basketball. Indiana just annihilated Purdue 56-3 in football. College football has been absolutely amazing this year. We're still trying to figure out the playoffs, and we got the tailgates, the rivalries, and everything else. Indiana, they're going to be playing against Ohio State or Michigan. As I do that game's still going on in the Big Ten title game. It's been a lot of fun. But let's be real. Getting tickets to IU football games now is not as easy as it used to be. It's more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices can be jumping out at you at checkout. That's why I use Game Time. I actually just bought 2 tickets for IU versus Louisville for basketball here recently on Game Time. The app that gives you, the fan, the opportunity to hold their destiny and not worry about all the shenanigans that are going on. It's the easiest way to get tickets and get last-minute tickets with the best prices. No surprise fees. When I got my tickets for the Louisville game for IU, literally in and out 5 minutes, which I'm not the most patient guy, I was pretty happy with it. Found the Louisville game, selected the seats, my dad and I could see the seats from my phone, and then I just put in my credit card information and I was out. Again, less than 5 minutes. Take the guesswork out of buying college football or basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Thank you once again for making Locked On Hoosiers a part of your day, each and every day, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. If you have not already, become an everydayer and subscribe to the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Jacob will be back very, very soon. I'm just standing in for him today as he's on another assignment. Let's talk about how this makes Indiana better moving forward. For those of you watching on YouTube on the sidebar here, I got IU shooting, and it's put a question mark. How does this help them in that? Let's start with it because everybody likes to talk about Indiana knocking down triples. Matter of fact, how many did they hit for the game? Let's see here. Indiana's totals, like 3.1, they're so weird. They were 12 of 31, 38.7%. You would take that every time. Every time. And Indiana missed a few they probably shouldn't have, but you hit 12 threes, man. The momentum and all that's important. I think this, more than anything else, as goofy as it might seem, for any of you that have coached, even if it's a youth league, when players hit threes, there's an energy to it. And additionally, it sucks the life out of your opponent. It will also suck the life out of the other team's assistant coaching staff as they try to find different ways to beat ball screens, to defeat back picks, anything you could imagine. They know, just like everybody else, getting hammered from the three-point line is a really tough way to go. It's tough. In today's analytics with basketball, there's only 3 shots that coaches want. And I know it's boring for fans, but this is just the truth. Threes, free throws, layups, /dunks. That's it. Anything beyond about 4 foot to 20, they by and large don't really want you taking. There are a few exceptions, but man, there are very, very few of those. Into the shot clock or into the half, something like that, or just an elite shooter. If DeVries gets it wide open 15-footer wet fly. But everybody else, dunk, free throw, 3. Indiana is causing teams to look at them differently now when they shoot like this. And the one thing Indiana's been doing since the beginning of the year, those back cuts, well, they work together simultaneously. When you're able to back cut consistently, and Indiana did a really nice job of it today, had a couple that just sucked the defense back. Even if the pass didn't get made, and probably shouldn't have, the defense did its job. You still create leverage because that's another defender away from the three-point line for people moving, and the person with the ball has more space to operate, to get his shot off or drive to the bucket, whatever he's going to do. So Indiana was in a good spot there. Now, the other part with this, Indiana had more energy once they hit those shots. Their defense has improved. It was my concern earlier in the year when I was coming on with Jacob doing these live shows. I was a little concerned about how they played the ball screens when they were on defense, how they did that kind of stuff. When Indiana shoots it well, they go to the other end of the court, they're just better at it. It's just energy. It's a human nature thing. When you're shooting it well, you're feeling good, you're going to play harder on D. That's reality. And that's why coaches, I don't care what level, when you hear the really great coaches talk, Knight in particular, they talk about defense first. You can recruit offense. Defense, by and large, other than like a 6'11 guy with long arms that's a great shot blocker, it's about effort and communication. Indiana's goes up immensely when they put the ball in the hoop, just the way it is. With that, one other thing before I go into likes and dislikes, Indiana's dribbling and turnovers. Let's see how many turnovers they had. They had a bunch. One of their games, I think was it K-State? I think it was the K-State game. They had too many. It's weird. They had 7 today. And I know this team isn't dominant. They played by any means, but 7 is low. When Indiana doesn't play helter-skelter, and Conaway had 7 by himself in that game, by the way. Today, the entire team had 7. When they don't push the ball too much in force, their offensive shot selection is good, and they've got enough good shooters, obviously. They don't even have to push to get over 80 points in a game pretty comfortably. And today, I know it's an overmatched opponent, but your back cuts are working. You get a few layups in transition, a few dunks, a few alley-oops, etc. They don't have to. Just don't turn it over. And they were 1.4 something I talked about earlier per possession. That's elite. Indiana did a nice job. So now, likes and dislikes, shooting, defensive energy. They came out with authority. That might be the most important thing in a team sense. I've said it about 10 times. I couldn't say it enough if I possibly tried. They played team basketball. And finally, it was a bench. Again, out of their 100 points, 45 come off the Hoosiers bench. That is going to pay dividends because injuries, attrition, it's a part of the sport, just like any other. When you get into Big Ten play, if you don't have depth, you get buried, especially the back half of the Big Ten schedule. Yeah, it's not going to go very well. So that's something to think about. Dislikes, they could still rebound better, especially offensively. I think they're just worried about not giving up transition baskets because they play half-court defense pretty well. They've improved it, but they are probably like teams like Michigan, Purdue, teams that have some size. I worry about Indiana just being, even by halftime, I hope the following stat does not transpire, but there might be a few games where a Big Ten opponent at halftime has more second chance points at halftime than Indiana gets in an entire game. That's a problem. But that's recruiting too. I mean, Coach DeVries, this is what he inherited. He had to ignite a fuse and blow this thing up and start over. And Indiana's in the position they're in with him being the coach, bringing the son over. It's worked so far, but this year we got to kind of deal with it. The rebounding is going to be a problem. If they could just get a couple more buckets, though, a game on second chance points, it would behoove them to do so. How they finagle that with not crashing the boards with their guards and not allowing runouts, all that, that's something they're going to have to work out. But again, against bigger teams, that's something to look at. And the other thing here, Indiana, again, this is along with size. They've got to contest shots like they are. That's fine. They're not fouling guys. Just like I talked about with the second chance points, this is a size thing. Block shots. Indiana doesn't get after it that well with block shots. And if you're going to lose that battle to a team with, again, use like Michigan or something, and you get 7 block shots against you and you get 1 or 2, you're probably going to lose those games. I don't know how Indiana does anything about that unless they just really, really shoot it, like 45% clip from behind the arc in a game. But that's my other concern. It's just been a consistent theme. And against Bethune-Cookman, I don't really care. But if you see Indiana maybe play more with 2 big guys, it wouldn't surprise me at some point if Bailey got on the court with Sam Alexis at the same time. There's some possibilities. Sicily's a guy that can definitely block some shots. That's a heck of an athlete. But Indiana's going to have to find a way to contest shots inside of 15 feet more once Big Ten play commences, because those teams, Illinois, Purdue, whoever it is you want to talk about, they've got some big guys that can pass and shoot. You're going to have to contest and get some runouts and some layups because they're going to be a problem to score on in the paint. They can guard that three-point line without respecting the back cuts quite as much. It's going to be much more difficult in the half court for the Hoosiers to score. So you got to flip the tables. you've got to be able to get some block shots and get some runouts. That's something I'm concerned about right now. But I'm really trying to find small things to pick about because Indiana played well today. If you're a Hoosiers fan, you should be happy. I mean, they won 100-56. So thank you once again for making Locked On Hoosiers a part of your day. This is a lot of fun, man. It's good to have Indiana basketball back and doing good stuff. David Bodie, there were not enough people at the game to have a crowd, but the people who came were great. I'm going to mention this. I don't know how they scheduled these things and who, what, when, where, and why. And I know it's Indiana basketball. It's a home game. You can't schedule home games at the same time Michigan's playing Ohio State and all these games in college football. You can't schedule the last Saturday of college football season for basketball. Indiana, Purdue, Kentucky, anybody, it's not a good idea. They should have scheduled this game tomorrow. I don't care if there's a Colts game. Do it anyway. It's still better than the last day of college football. Note to IU, that was not the brightest thing in the world to do. With that, thank you very much for checking us out. Locked On Hoosiers, please like and subscribe. We will see you again soon. Everybody take care.